A union representing 160,000 television and film actors voted Thursday to walk off the job and leave the industry at a standstill. The National Board for SAG-AFTRA says its members will join the writers, who have been picketing since early May. The actors are calling for better residual pay from streaming content and protections from artificial intelligence. Last time Hollywood actors and writers went on strike at the same time was 1960. And here you can see Oscar winner Charlton Heston alongside then SAG president Ronald Reagan, shaking hands with studio executives when the strike ended after about a month. Entertainment Tonight co-host Michelle Turner has more from Los Angeles.
Just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and
If Hollywood studios had dreamed of a fairy tale ending,
we stand in solidarity.
This is not it.
We had no choice. We are the victims here.
160,000 performers will now join 11,000 writers on the picket lines and not on the red carpet. Actors will not be able to promote their films at premieres for big-budget films like Barbie, Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones, and Oppenheimer.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Fan-favorite events like next week's Comic-Con will be without its superheroes. The main sticking points include safeguards for the use of AI, along with pay and residuals for streaming shows. Netflix alone has more than 230 million subscribers. SAG-AFTRA claims actors are missing out on millions.
We had to protect the people who are kind of on the margins.
Character actors such as Mehdi Barakchian, who appear on network TV shows but can't pay his bills.
The corporations that are using our faces, our likeness, our content, all the writing, all the storytelling are reaping tremendous profits.
Today, Disney CEO Bob Iger weighed in.
There's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic. And they are adding to a set of challenges that this business is already facing.
Nobody wants a work stoppage, but we gotta be working under contracts that are fair.
The writer strike had already impacted late-night TV and some daytime programming, but now with the actors on the picket lines as well, if the strike drags on, films could be delayed indefinitely, and all the new fall television shows will be on hold. So expect lots of reruns. John?
Michelle Turner, thanks. For more, let's bring in Elaine Low. She is a staff writer for The Ankler. So most productions were already paused because of the writer strike. Some, though, shows and films had stockpiled scripts ahead of time. So with actors now on strike, does that mean everything just screeches to a total halt?
Well, like you said, a lot of the productions, most productions were already on hold because of the Writers Guild strike, which started on May 2nd. And the first thing to be impacted was late night comedy shows. And of course, if you take a look at the broadcast network's fall schedules, it's heavily packed with reality and unscripted programming. And writers have been picketing productions, forcing those to shut down. And so this past week, actually, there are 0 scripted series with permits to film in LA County, according to Film LA, the county's film office, compared to what would normally be dozens of productions in progress around this time of year. And so what few productions are remaining will be shut down when the on-camera talent goes on strike starting at midnight tonight.
And what's your sense of the major sticking points at this stage in the negotiations?
Well, I think it's interesting to see how AI has really come to the forefront of this discussion, both with the writers and the actors, because talking to folks who were around for the last strike and the last few contract negotiations for both unions, this really wasn't really at the forefront at all the last time around. And it's because this technology has been so fast moving that the contracts and the infrastructure really hasn't been able to keep up, I think. And when you look at the Hollywood studios proposal, the AMPTP, which is the organization that represents Hollywood studios from Warner Brothers Discovery to Disney, said that they had offered a quote unquote groundbreaking proposal on AI along with other items. And today at the SAG-AFTRA press conference, Chief Negotiator Duncan Crabtree Ireland had said that the quote unquote groundbreaking AI proposal had included having background performers who would be allowed to be scanned and paid one day's wages. And those companies would essentially be able to own their image and likeness in perpetuity. And so I think it really comes down to figuring out a way to hammer out the terms of those agreements in a way that creates sustainable wages for the performers and in a way that's financially operable for these studios.
Help us understand, but the writers, I guess AI could just write scripts or fix scripts or just, but help us with the actors. How should we understand the big threat from AI, that it essentially just replaces them in films and after, as you say, one day of work?
Yeah, well, there's deep fake technology that's already out there, and if anything, it seems like the technology is already there more for the performers than the writers. I mean, I think some of the Chat GPT writing still looks a little primitive in some forms, but when I've seen and heard technology out there of, say, a voiceover company, voiceover AI, that is able to, say, replicate Morgan Freeman's voice, so that instead of having an actor dub Morgan Freeman, you hear Morgan Freeman speaking in perfect Spanish or perfect Italian as a result of this AI technology. So the technology is already there. And again, it's just a matter of hammering out the terms for the performers and the studios.
Let me ask you a last question about the writers. As I understand it, the Writers Guild and the studios have not resumed negotiations since they went on strike in May. So what does the fact that the actors are now striking mean for writers? Does it help give them some leverage? Or do they now have to wait till the actors gets worked out, which means even longer for the writers to be without time at the bargaining table?
Yeah, well, the going theory is that now when you have a double strike, when you've truly halted all production and all publicity for coming TV shows and films, that really adds pressure to Hollywood studios to come back to the negotiating table with both unions and hammer out a deal, because otherwise then that really starts to impact, the things that you see on screen and the consumer experience at some point. As well as, just the local economy. I mean, you look at the last writer's strike alone in 2007, 2008, that had a $2.1 billion impact, certainly would be much greater this time around with a double strike.
Elaine Low, thank you so much, staff writer at The Ankler. Thanks a lot for being with us.
Thanks for having me.